Hello guys, I'm Fancy and welcome in this tutorial where I will show you how you can create NPC or just AI for your game that will try to attack you and you can shoot it and kill him. You can see that I got here zombie that's coming right at me. If I teleport somewhere, he will again turn and go at me, but if you look at him and be close enough, he will try to attack you, which is pretty cool. And if you take this gun that I made in other tutorial, you can reload it, of course, it's quite necessary, and shoot this guy, he will sort of die, which is exactly what you would expect of someone getting shot. It's tutorial mainly for VR AI, but in Unreal Engine it doesn't really matter whether you are making it for VR or non-VR games, so if you are not making VR game, you can follow as well. Let's get to it. We will start in Mixamo. If you are not familiar with it, it's a site where you can download some models, and what's more important, you can skin your characters, animate it, blah blah blah. So you can upload your own character, which I want to do. I will click left here on characters. Oh, everything is for free, of course, I should have said. You have a link in the description. And let's find some zombie. That looks just like a soldier I was looking for. And it's quite a right nationality, I would say. And we will need to find some pack because I don't want to download them separately. So we will click in search bar and find here some zombie pack, and scary zombie pack sounds about what I want. So look at that, we have few animations, one of them seems to be walk, attack, etc, etc. But the problem is that we will need to, okay, that was kind of weird. Let's download it and make sure it's FPX, 30 FPS, blah blah blah. And we will actually need to download walk. What is that guy doing? Anyway, we also will need to download walk separately because we want it to be in place actually. Put here zombie walk right here, and it's glitching back. That's because it always moves a bit forward and we don't need that, so we will click this in place. That should be just fine, and let's download it. Alright, now I have downloaded all FBX files here and put them on one folder. You can put them in Blender, put in one file, it's not really important right here. And I'm going to be working with projects that I have started in previous tutorials with VR expansion plugin. You can watch them somewhere here in the description. I would definitely recommend that if you are looking into VR game dev. But now we will open AA files or whatever folder you want, create a new one, and let's call it character. Make sure that you start with walking. That's that last animation we've downloaded, and the thing is that it's only one that actually have that mesh, others are just animation data. So we will take walking, put it here, and make sure that it's skeletal mesh. We are importing mesh and we don't have any skeleton. Alright, if you just put it in the game, you can see that it will do some animation, it will stay in the place, everything is fine. So what we now need to do is to create new folder here, call it animation. So ideally it should be animations, put your animations there, and now actually import all the animations that I have downloaded before. You can click on all that, don't use walking again, and put it right here. And make sure that you set that skeleton that we have used just before, which is walking skeleton. We will need to rename it in a moment. So let's import it. Once your animations are imported, you should have here quite a nice list like here, and it should use the same mesh, of course. That's why we use that skeletal. We probably won't use most of these animations, but it's cool to have. You can use them for whatever you want. If you want to learn more about importing from Mixamo to Unreal Engine or Blender and primarily using root animation, yeah, check out tutorial I have made somewhere here. Alright, let's stop that self-promo and get to work. Now we will need to create character. You can see the textures automatically switched on, so I have character at its full beautiful zombie ugliness. If it didn't happen for you, you will probably need to look into this and set up just texture maps that you have downloaded and imported with it, and in the same way as they are written right here, like diffuse, normal, spectacular, but that's not the tutorial for it. So we will have to create a new blueprint, and that should be blueprint class, and we are looking for a character. Let's call it zombie _ AI and double click on it. We will need to click on mesh and set it here I'm afraid that it's still called walking, yeah. So we will put it there, but before that we'll click on that mesh and actually rename it because we can't name it walking. Let's call it n _ zombie. I hope that you know why n. So now we have it here renamed, and if we put it down, let's make sure that it's facing the same direction as this arrow right here. So we will have to rotate it. Oh, actually -90. on z-axis in my case. It can be different in yours. And let's put it in here. Simulate, nothing will probably happen, but we have him here. You can see that my shaders are still compiling, and light seems to be kinda buggy once I start the game. If you have the same problem, probably waiting until it will compile and baking lighting will fix everything. So next thing we will do is to make sure that that zombie actually does something. Let's just start by making it walk around. Just for testing purposes, we will click on use animation blueprint. We will set it to use custom mode, custom animation asset, and we'll set it to walking. So now it will be walking all the time, but that's fine for now. We will then set up a blueprint, animation blueprint, to make it all work properly. This is just for testing purposes. So back in Zombie AI, we will have to click on event begin play, put here short delay, just 0.2 should be fine, and we will get here AI move to spawn should be set up to self, and target actor should be pretty simple. We will just get player actor. So click on it and get player character. Well, and let's connect it right here. Acceptance value will leave like that. Can save, and let's see if it works. In VR we have a bit of a problem that the player is actually spawned after you put your headset on, etc. You can take precautions for that and set it differently, but there is not really a need for that. We will go around it simply by putting this delay a bit higher, so it will need to wait before it will look for our player. Compile it all. And one more thing, to see how he properly walks, we will click on character movement and set walkable to max walk speed. Let's go only to 200. Alright, he's still a bit too fast, so I will put max walk speed even slower. Let's set it to only 20. And one more thing we will do to make sure that he actually does what we want once he catches us. We will simply put here delay. It doesn't matter if it's success or fail, put it here, put here 1 second long delay, and then let's start it over. So once he will get on your location, it will wait for 1 second, or let's actually make it a bit longer. He will wait for 4 seconds, and then he will repeat that and follow you again. Alright, you can see that he's following, everything seems to be fine. If you teleport somewhere, he will come right at you, and that speed actually looked pretty in sync with the walk animation. So I will leave it like that. You can tweak it a little bit to make it match exactly. So next thing we will do is to set up animation blueprint. You don't necessarily need to set up animation blueprint. You can set up everything in just a zombie regular blueprint without going to animation blueprint. But once you are making a more complex character, you want different animations, different interactions with it, it's probably better to do it. It's also simpler. So that's what I will show you now. I will let's right click, click on animation, animation blueprint, and as a skeleton we will use walking skeleton, which I didn't rename. Wonderful. Let's call it zombie underscore anim bp. Double click on it, and first we will right click and put here new state machine, connect it right here, come on, compile, and double click on it. And from this entry we will need new state, add state, and that will be idle or walk, right? And from entry let's go right to it. But now we need to set up the animation for it, and usually what you would do is to just put here animation blah blah blah, let it do what you want, but that's not what we will do. We will actually right click because we need to create animation blend, and 1D is alright. Let's use walking skeleton again, and that is our popular bug. It sometimes happens that it just doesn't work. You create it and nothing actually happens. Seems to be a bug in current version of Unreal Engine. So hopefully it usually just takes few tries. Alright, so I had to restart the object and then simply created it. You know, weird stuff between engine and user. So now let's rename it and call it idle slash walk. Oh, we can't use slash, so let's call it idle to walk. Click enter. And we will add here these animations. On the right, we will add walk. And we actually can't use the walk, we need to use just walking, because we have 2 animations of walk. It should be this one, hopefully. Yep. And now let's find animation of idle. Zombie idle. Let's put it here, and you can see that if I take this green cursor, put it on left, he is just idling around. If you put it on the right, he is walking. You can see that on left corner is 0 and on the right corner is 100. But you know that we have set up max walk speed to 50, so 100 would be somewhere here, which we don't really want. So let's scroll somewhere here, and we will have to click on the horizontal axis and set the maximum axis value to 50. Now it's between 0 and 50. Wonderful. Alright, now we can open zombie BP, anim BP. And here in idle walk, we will take our, where is it? Idle to walk and connect it. Now let's see where we can take this from. We'll have to go to event graph, and from here we will cast to zombie AI, connect object to target pawn owner. So from zombie AI we will get velocity, and from that we will take we need to convert it to float, which means we will need vector length. Alright, and that will be converted to variable. Variable will be, let's call it speed, which, because it is basically speed. Connect it right here. And now if you compile it back to idle walk, and we can connect here speed. And just to test it, we actually need to first of all click on our zombie AI in viewport, click on that zombie and animation mode, set to animation blueprint, and our animation blueprint is zombie anim BP. Then you can see that right now it's calm, nothing going on, he is just chilling right there, waiting to overturn Poland or something, and let's simulate it. Before that, make sure that you have that character movement speed set to maximum walk speed 50. Let's just simulate it. It will go somewhere where we don't want usually, but you could have seen that switch where if he wasn't going anywhere, he was just stagnating, chilling like that. And now when he finished walking, you can see he's back in idle animation. Alright, so now we have AI that follows the player, walks, sometimes he's just chilling. So the next thing should of course be to pressing the like button. Thank you very much. And after that we will of course make him attack you, because that's what you get for pressing the like button. Alright, we will use super simple method to make your zombie attack. So let's click on it and edit zombie AI. What we will do is to create simple meal attack. So what we need to do is to let the engine know when our character, which means you or me basically, is close enough for this zombie to do attack, to do some animation. So for that we will create collision. Let's use sphere collision and make sure it's under mesh. Compile it and make it a little bit bigger. Let's say about this should be fine. It's 135 in my case. And we will do, once it will be overlapped on component begin overlap, we want to cast to, and our character is called, which we can see, wife pawn character right here. It's basically any character that we are using at the moment as players. So cast to wife pawn character, connect it to other actor. And once it will do, we will create new variable. That variable will be attack. And here we will set it to true. Now let's get to character, zombie anim BP. And we will create here new animation node, which means state, and let's call it attack. Connect it from idle wall. Oh, actually don't connect it yet. We will firstly go here and click on this output animation node and we are going to put here zombie attack file and just connect it here. Also double click on that to actually see what you are adding there. If you just put your mouse cursor on it, you can see that it's long 2.633 seconds. So what we will do then is, back in our zombie AI, we'll let that attack be true for some time. Let's do 2.66. Oh, let's 2.60. let's just let it on 2.6. It's usually a bit shorter than the length of animation. You need to kind of play with it, what works best for you. And then after those 2.6 seconds, we want to set it to untrue again. So once the VR pawn will interact with this sphere, it will use this sequence, which means enabling attack. And that attack we will use here in animation BP in event graph. Let's take it from here, attack, get attack, and set promote it to variable, which will be called attack underscore anim BP. And then we need to put here some connections from idle walk to attack. So from idle or walk to attack, we want to go when attack anim BP, oh come on, come here mate, is equal to true. But we also want to go back to walking, and that should be once it is not true anymore. Just like this. Compile. There is one more problem we need to solve. Once this will overlap, our character will still be moving, it just won't use the animation for walk. So we will need to do is stop animation movement, just stop movement. Let's put it after casting and put here stop movement immediately. And what we can do is to disable movement completely, but it should work just fine. Right, you can see he's walking right at me. Let's teleport a bit closer, and once he will be close enough, you can see he skipped and attacked me. But that looked kinda weird. You can see that the timing is a bit wrong. But if I teleport away, it will take him some time, but then he will start following me again. Wonderful. So first thing we need to do is to go to anim BP. And when we set up here these arrows, these connections, we can actually make the duration of blend. That's basically how long it takes to go from one animation to other, to make it much longer. Because if you do that, it won't just slip to it, and it will slowly blend these keyframes together. So let's go with 2.6 on your way from idle walk, and oh come on, and back to idle or walk. Let's do even 1 maybe. I'm not going to tweak that right now, that's up to you to play with it to make it look just nice. And what I have also seen is that we need a little bit less time here. We can actually, if you really want to know how I usually do it, I would look at that animation, and you can see that it takes a while before it actually attacks. So what I would do here is to start the animation somewhere here, which means at 0.2 seconds you can click on anim BP, go here, actually no, click here on display zombie animation, and loop animation, start position set to 0.2. That should be fine. So now it will start from this point, and then you can see it attacks, blah blah, and somewhere here I would be already stopping that. So in let's say 0.8, and you also need to set it to minus this 0.2, which means length of that animation should be about 1.5 if you want to take it mathematically, but usually it's better to just test it by yourself and see what works best. Let's go 1.8 and see what it does. Alright, let's let him come closer. Once he will close enough, he will attack. I can see the drop was still pretty long, and he's now just standing there, but it doesn't look that bad as it did before. So as you could have seen, it works much better, but it still needs a lot of tweaking. That's something you need to just play with by yourself and, you know, to find just the perfect value. Now he is capable of actually attacking us and possibly kill us. So now let's actually be capable of doing that by ourselves. We need to be able to kill that guy. So we will use for that this wonderful gun that I have created in previous tutorial. You can watch, of course. Alright, so to actually make it work, we will click on our BP gun, open it. And in viewport, in event graph, you can see that you are spawning projectile. So we'll have to click on that projectile and find it here. Look at that. And you can see that we have here some kind of collision. So we will use it. Click on that collision and use here event begin overlap. And what we want to do from that is of course to cast to zombie AI. Oh, not a class, cast to zombie AI, connect it to other actor. And from there you actually don't want to do anything except actually destroying that. So we will put here delay, let's go with 0.5 and destroy actor. But you don't need to connect it yet. Back in our zombie AI, we need to set up here custom event. That custom event should be hit. And what it will do is once it will be hit, you can do few things right now. I will set it up so once you hit him, he will die right then, so you get one shot, one kill. You can of course set it up that once he will be hit, it will take 20% of his health and then play some animation of getting hit. I will put there right that, as I said. So what I will do is create firstly variable, call it that, and after that what we will do is again stop movement immediately, and we also want to disable movement completely. So let's disable movement, okay, character movement, and just to be sure we can also put here a new variable that will be do not move, because sometimes it happens that he tends to go back to this loop which we want to get rid of. So right now we will set this to untrue. You can also use it right here with this attack animation in case that he would be moving too much while he's playing that animation, which he shouldn't, but it can happen. You can simply go here, put here branch, and do not move, put it here. Once it will be true, which is kind of confusing, I know. So once do not move is true, it will still continue moving, but once it will be false, it will stop, not do anything. And right here we will set it to untrue. You can do it of course here, but then make sure that you remember to put it to true again. So now let's get back to first person projectile, and we just want to take here, so put here function hit, which is actually a custom event, doesn't matter. And after that it will actually put here delay 0.2. So once the bullet will interact with our zombie AI, it will use this custom event hit, and then it will wait for 0.2 seconds and destroy itself. So back in event hit, you can see that it will stop movement, disable it, and then make sure that it really disables it, because this thing sometimes doesn't work with disabling movement. Right, and the last thing is to actually click on our zombie AI. Oh, no. Go in AI files, characters, zombie anim pp, and we will add here another node. Let's start in event begin graph, and let's put here that, which is that new variable we have just created. Promote it to variable, call it that underscore anim pp. New state machine here should be that. Click on it and put here some animation of that or dying, doesn't really matter. Let's click on that. That looks fine. It actually looks like it was hit. So put it here and make sure that you don't set it to looping. You need to disable loop animation. We're gonna OK, and let's go to event graph. No, actually let's go to new state machine, and you want to be able to go to that from walk or from attack. So let's go from idle walk, go right here, take that anim bp. Once it will be equal to true, it will go right there, and Control C, new state machine, and from attack the same thing. And this time around that zombie is not gonna come back from that, so you don't need to put here any other arrows, just to that. So one more thing, let's make sure that we do this hit only once, because we don't want him to be dying again and again. Alright, now in VR, let's reload that gun and try to shot him. Oh, cute. Don't you wanna like die or something? Yes, you can see that the problem is right here with that first person projectile. It's by default set a bit differently. So you need to change collision preset. Let's set it to overlap all. I found last just a quick bug. Back in zombie AI and back in blah 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 AI move 2, and you need to that last branch that do not move I have set up here, you need to by default set it to true, of course, otherwise it won't work. Now let's actually do final test. Alright, let's look at him, teleport close to him, see if he can attack us. Come on, come at me, mate. He does it, he attacks, he is still following me, which is fine. So what I will do is to simply get rid of this stalker. Hey dude, I'm here. Yep, here we go. So I'm gonna, come on, quickly reload that gun and simply shoot that bastard. Look at that, he just died, like this. And if I try to shoot him once more, you can see this just destroying the bullets, which is fine. You can of course get rid of it if you don't want it to be destroyed, but pretty big ones. And he is dead, not moving. Everything seems to be fine. He's not even rotating when I am moving away. Everything is pretty perfect. Alright, I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you. Let me know in comments what kind of zombie or enemy you did. If you want project files for this project, you can support me on Patreon, where you can get them, of course, and a lot of additional stuff. And that's about it. I'm Sir Fancy, and see you later.